Courtney's looking like, say what? Y'all should see her face. See, it's awesome being right here because I get to see all y'all facial expressions. I said, Mac, she's like, huh? Oh, map? People used to use those? Yep, we used to fold out a map that was about yay long, and we had to find the road that we were on. And my grandfather had a stack of them for every state that he went to. So it didn't matter where you need to go, Minister Cook, Pop could get you there. It didn't matter what was going on, he had his map to get him to the right destination. A map had everything on it, Michael. It had the name of every highway. It had the name, right, Miss Lemmon? You remember the maps. It had the name of every street, Sonia. It had the name of even of every bridge. It had the name of it all on a map. And then computers came on the scene. And when computers came, it transitioned from a paper map to MapQuest. Still a map, but now we're talking about MapQuest, Miata. In fact, MapQuest is what got us to another country. David and I Googled MapQuest, and MapQuest got us from Baltimore to Canada. Yes, it was MapQuest, Courtney, can you believe it? We used MapQuest to go straight out 70 and found our way to our little honeymoon in Niagara Falls. MapQuest took us all the way there. But then the times kept evolving and changing, and Garmin came on the scene. And when Garmin came on the scene, they designed a portable navigation. And this was something, Minister Cook, you could put on your dashboard, put in your destination, and then it will show you a digital map on the small little screen, and a voice will come on and tell you you can now go 50 yards to your next destination. Nowadays, portable navigation has evolved even more. So now we have built-in navigation systems that's in most model vehicles, but it's on everybody's phone. Yes, it's easier to have a picture on a screen to show you your next turn, as opposed to having to try to read a map while you were driving. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. Yes, it's easier, Mama Ann, to listen to a voice tell you to turn left or turn right, even though I still can't figure out how I get lost. It tells me at the next corner, turn left, and I thought I turned left, but I end up lost anyway. But if there's one thing that makes me uber happy, Brigitte, and if there's one thing, Miss Lemmon, that makes me uber glad, is that an old-fashioned map in MapQuest, yes, they got me to where I needed to go, but there was one thing they could not do. Minister Cook, they could not offer me the opportunity to reroute.
Yes.
Unlike the paper style maps, I may not know where I missed my mark and missed my turn. I may not be aware of when I made the wrong decision. But the satellite built inside of the navigation in my car, the satellite built into the phone has the ability to reroute me when I get lost and off track. And you know what, church? That's exactly how the Word of God is used for the people of God. The Word of God is a roadmap that will reroute us when we've fallen into the enemy's traps. And so Paul decided to write a letter to the church of Philippi. And with the help of the letter, he's trying to teach the church it is time for you to reroute because you've lost your way. This letter, Minister Cook, to the Philippian church is a strategy on how to have a fresh start even when you've gone down the wrong path. Instead of being complacent, he's telling them, instead of being content of where you are, he's telling them, Miss Lemmon, instead of being comfortable with the way things currently are, the Philippians needed to take this opportunity to reroute their thinking and set their heights to higher goals. You see, David, just like he did in the letter to the Corinthian church, the Apostle Paul once again shares his testimony of what it took to be 100 with Christ. And what he's saying is that, church, it takes a fresh start for you to reroute the direction you're headed in. You see, church, Paul was never one to let circumstances conquer him. Instead, with the help of God, he was determined to fulfill every purpose that God had for him. Paul understood no more excuses, no more complaining about it, no more shoulda, coulda, wouldas. He knew there was only one choice and one choice only. Tell somebody it's all or nothing.
All nothing.
Let me pause right there. Because if we're going to have a fresh start, Kim, the first thing we need to do is to let go of the shoulda, couldas, and wouldas. Yes, there's a lot of things you and I should have done. There's a lot of things that you and I could have done. Yeah, we should have been better with our eating habits, and we wouldn't be dealing with some of the high cholesterol, diabetes, and other health challenges we have today. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yes, we should have been better at what we spend our money on, then we wouldn't be clawing out of debt right now. Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But let me help you out, my brothers and sisters. Just because we didn't, and just because we should have, and just because we could have, I'm here to let you know that as long as you have breath in your body, and as long as you are still standing today you can still have a reroute and turn it around. Paul understood that God's interpretation on the road to Damascus was his pivotal point for a reroute. What he was doing, where he was going, who he was hanging out with, young people, it was time for a change. Because remember in the book of Acts, those that hung around Paul when he used to be named Saul, they did nothing, Minister Cook, but agitate and jumpstart on the bandwagon of him persecuting other people. They weren't there to help him find the errors of his ways. They were there to jump on a bandwagon and say, oh yeah, man, you should do it. Yeah, you know, I heard about them up the street too. You should go after them. I believe, young people, that's one of the reasons that God waited until Saul was in the desert of Damascus by himself. I believe, young people, that was one of the reasons that he waited until he was away from the naysayers, away from those who would have him second guessing what God was saying. Listen, church, if you're going to have a fresh start in 2020, sometimes it's going to require changing the circle of friends you hang around, especially those who's not about being better and too busy being satisfied with living the same old way, complaining about the same old stuff, and doing the same old things. I don't know about you, but in 2020, I'm determined to have a fresh start. God has brought you out of too much to go back to who you used to be. You have to get rid of some excuses and be determined to push even when you are tired. Push even when you don't feel like it. Push even when you are hurting. Push even when you are discouraged. Sometimes you just gotta push. I know there's some mamas in here that know that unless you want that baby to keep sitting there till they 3 years old, baby, you got to push that thing out. You tired. Because sometimes, young people, y'all just don't know. Y'all got mighty comfortable in mommy tummy. And you weren't trying to come out into this crazy world. But mama said you got to go. And she been pushing for 10 hours and 12 hours. And her energy is low. But when you want the promise of God, baby, it doesn't matter how low your tank is. As long as you still got a drop left in there, you got to keep pushing. Paul knew having a fresh start was not going to be easy. but he had to keep pushing. He understood there were going to be challenges waiting for him, Miss Lemmon. He knew folk were going to give him the side eye. He knew it, Minister Cook, the side eye. He knew people were going to think to themselves, Brigitte, isn't that the guy we used to run with? Isn't he the one that used to be with us when we were tormenting them Jesus groupies? Ain't that the same dude that used to cover the corner down there while we hustled up here? Wasn't he the big wig that got us all under control? We remember him. There's no way he's part of them churchy people. Nah, man, nah, not him. He's not one of the followers. We not only saw him for ourselves, but we used to run with him. We know him. That ain't him. That might be his twin, but that ain't him. We know what he used to do and where he used to hang out. But what I love about Paul is that in our text, his response to those who tried to keep him in bondage to who he used to be and where he used to hang out, he says, yeah, I remember what I used to do. I was there when I did it. I remember where I used to hang out. I was there hanging out. But I can stand here to tell you that eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard the things that God has in store for my future. My brothers and sisters, as men and women of God, we are here to run a race called life. And life always looks ahead towards a God-given purpose. There are so many things in this world that tries to claim our attention, Miata. And so many things that we try to accomplish that becomes difficult to stay focused on. And before we know it, we're asking questions like, how can I reach my potential for Christ? How can I give him my best? How can I give him my all? I keep trying, but I'm getting distracted. I'm getting distracted by my current circumstances. I'm getting distracted because bills are behind. I'm getting distracted because family members have turned their backs on me. I'm getting distracted because people I thought were my friends have shown me that they all have a two-face. I'm getting distracted because I'm trying to do better and it seems like life keeps snatching me back. I'm getting distracted. Anybody know about distractions? Well, Paul sets a good example on how to get past your distractions and reach your potential. And he gives us the example by using his own testimony to show the church what it takes to be committed. Paul writes his letter to the Philippian church in hopes that they can strive for excellence, Miss Lemmon. Because if nobody else understood, Paul understood what it took to push for excellence. Paul understood what it felt like to be overwhelmed. He understood what it felt like to be unsure. He understood, David, what it felt like to have people doubt who you are because of who you used to be. And I don't know about you, but I'm glad that God could take people with stains on their track record and still find something good to use out of them. Yes. Do I have anybody in the house this morning who knows that you didn't always do right? In fact, if the truth be told, you didn't always say the right things. You didn't always live the right way. You didn't always hang around the right people. But God, look beyond the stains on your track record and declare, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in a future. My God, even with the stains on your life, even with the stains on my life, God still has a plan for our lives. Anybody glad that God still has a plan for your life? Tell somebody, I'm glad he has a plan. And it's for this reason that Paul says in 1 Peter, be alert and of sober mind, because your enemy, the devil, is roaring around like a lion, looking to see who he can destroy and devour. Empowering Ministries, we have an enemy known as Satan, who desires to devour you and stop your progress. Therefore, you must have a workable strategy, just like Paul, in order to overcome the tricks of the enemy. Because he understands that oftentimes we allow our limitations, Mama Ann, to be used as our excuses. Tell somebody, all of us have limitations.
All of us have limitations.
But when you have a workable strategy, Ron, your limitations do not have the power to rob you of the success that God has in store. You see, in this text, I believe that the strategy that Paul wants us to see is first for us to see that the determining factor to winning against the enemy's tricks is to look at it as changing or rerouting where we are. I'm going to use it as an example of sports. I know my husband's a sports junkie. Make his day. Playoffs are here. In the sport of baseball, a bunt can be just as important as a home run. All it takes is to reroute your strategy on which one you're going to try to go for. That's in baseball. In the world of basketball, making a free throw could be the game just as important as making a three-pointer. It all depends on rerouting the strategy, Michael. And in football, as we watched intensely last night to see who we will play next week. In football, kicking a field goal can give you the win just as much as going for a touchdown. It all depends on rerouting how you go forward. Paul had a great effect on the church because he rerouted his strategy towards the church. Miss Lemmon, at first he persecuted anybody attached to the church. He went out after those who were believers, Mama Ann. He did everything he could to tear them down. But now he was a warrior for the church. Now he was a fighter for the rights of those who believe. He wanted them to succeed and flourish. And he wanted them to know the fullness of God's given purpose. Church, if you and I are going to be successful in this Christian race and live a life of purpose, then tell somebody we have to reroute our strategies. Mm-hmm. Paul shows us through scripture why having a strategy is so important. You see, Sonia, back in Acts, Paul's trials, his hardships, his struggles, all of that was on display for everybody to see. In 1st and 2nd Corinthians, we witness his personal ministry. In those two books alone, Miss Lemmon, Paul defends both his title as apostle and his ministry that God sent him on. In those two books, and those two alone, Minister Cook, Paul does the most in those books defending his title as an apostle and the ministry that God called him on. He talks more about them there than anywhere else in all of the books that he has written. Example, in 1 Corinthians, Paul is quoted of saying, "For I am the least of the apostles, and I am not meant to be called an apostle." He's defending his title. "But by grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace which has bestowed upon me was not done in vain." In layman terms, church, Paul is saying, don't hate on me because I was called. Because the truth of the matter is, I can't believe in myself. I was wondering if he called the right person. I know I'm not worthy to hold the title. But God looked beyond my faults and declared that in spite of the stains on my record, he still had a plan for my life. He was defending the title of being an apostle. But then, Miata, in 2 Corinthians, he's defending the ministry that God put him on. And he says, for I suppose I was not the one behind the very chiefest apostles. No, I have a speech that is rude, yet not knowledgeable. In other words, in layman terms, Paul is saying his labor is out of love, but is also out of debt to what he owes Christ. Paul was overcome with the love and appreciation that Christ has and that Christ bestowed upon him because he took him away from the road he was headed down destruction and he gave him a new walk. And I don't know about you, church, but the mere fact, David, that just like Paul, God didn't allow our mess to cancel us out. I owe him my worship. I owe him my praise. I owe him my hallelujah. And so Paul concludes that with everything I've been through, with every wrong turn that I've taken, with everything that I've done, with everything that I've said, I am forever in debt to God. I'm in debt for saving a wretch like me. I'm in debt that he didn't cut me off. I'm in debt that he didn't allow the things to kill me when it had a chance to kill me. And then he confessed that I'm not as talented as the rest of the apostles. I don't have natural ability like the other disciples, Ashley. I can't speak like they can speak. Paul learned that even though I don't have what you have, I have just enough for God to use. Others hated on Paul because they were trying to figure out, Mr. Cook, how he accomplished so much. Especially with all of the limitations, Kim, that tried to take hold of his identity. You see, Paul was known for his past. He was known for persecuting. He was known for arresting. He was known for testifying against people. He was known for wreaking havoc in every town he traveled. He was known for all the wrongs he did. He was known for all the bad choices he made. He was known for everything that didn't go right and everything that went wrong. So it's not difficult to understand why the other apostles rejected his fellowship even after he was converted. They weren't sure if he was really changed for the better, or was this a ploy to try to trick us to coming on board to help you in your guidance. Yet, he was the most successful, Mama Ann, of all the apostles and disciples. Paul acknowledges that he was not a great speaker, Miss Lemmon. He says his speech was uncouth. He says his speech was unpolished. He says he did not have the gift to speak eloquently. He continues, Minister Cook, and says that he was not a person that could measure up to the other disciples and be able to speak and present things as eloquently as they could. However, Paul had a great message, church, and that is, in spite of the areas of my life that people think are weak, that people think are fragile, and that people think are useless, God took those things and worked it out for my good and for his glory. I need you to tell somebody that though you may see it as weak, God sees it as wonderful. Though you may see it as weak, God sees it as marvelous. Yes, Peter was more stocky and built, and you would think that God would want to use Peter. Yes, Apollos had better speaking public gifts. You would think that God wanted to use him too. But God said, I'm going to morning and tell them God didn't look for qualified people. He qualified the people he chose. Come on, encourage somebody and tell them God did not look for qualified people, but instead he decided to qualify the ones that he chose. How do you think I made it to this point? How do you think I'm still here? How do you think I'm still standing? Baby, it had nothing to do with my qualifications, but it's the fact that God keeps perfecting me for his glory. Paul is the perfect example, church, of what God's perfected glory looks like. He is the perfect person that you and I can relate to, Minister Cook. They don't know what we look like before these collars. They don't know the places we hung out before these collars. You and I can relate to Paul real good. Just like you and me, Paul had a past. Just like you and me, Paul made mistakes. Just like you and me, Ashley, Paul was the least likely to be chosen. Just like you and me, Miss Lemmon, Paul saw flaws in his own self. And just like you and me, Paul didn't think he had what it took. But let me flip that thing around. Because just like Paul, you and I will be more than conquerors. Just like Paul, God has called you to even greater and better things. Just like Paul, God will change not just your identity, but he will change your name.
Yes.
Your name will no longer be timid, but your name is now triumph. Your name will no longer be victim, but your name is now victorious. Your name is no longer pity and pathetic, but your name is powerful. Your name will no longer be shameful and shamed, but your name is now strength. In fact, I need you to touch 3 people and tell them, let me introduce myself. My name is child of God. My name is better. My name is chosen. My name is wiser. My name is higher. My name is now I'm qualified. My name is now I'm called. My name has changed. Paul, you're no longer Saul, but I'm changing your name for the fresh start that I'm giving you. The reason 2020 is our fresh start, because we're not taking that mess from 2019 with us. We had prayers, visitors. We had prayers along our wall. Those were prayers before we got here. We were at a later location temporarily. And when they sold the property, we had to move quick, fast, and in a hurry. We had less than a month and a half turnaround. And so those were the prayers for God to open up an opportunity, which is how we got here. But then it was also the prayers for the people. The things that they needed God to move in their individual lives. The reason that those prayers are now down is because if we're going to say we trust God, then we are going to trust that those things are already working itself out. And God, we're not going to keep harping on 2019 stuff. We're not going to keep replaying 2019 stuff. We're not going to keep carrying 2019 stuff. But tell somebody it's time to empty 2019 trash. On the computer, when you have a file open, Mama Ann, if you don't want something, you can hit delete. And it's gone. And you save it, and it stays gone. So we think. If you don't go into the recycle bin of your hard drive, what you thought was gone is still sitting in the trash. Tell somebody it's time to empty the trash.
Empty trash.
You got to go into the hard drive. Open up your recycle bin. And you try to figure out why it's still madness in your life. It's because your recycle bin keeps recycling the junk. And every time it gets full, it's overloading back into your system. You got to empty the trash. Paul says, I know I wasn't qualified. I know the stuff I did. You don't got to remind me. I was there when I did it. And I did it better than the way you describe it. Hello in here. But Paul is also saying that the moment that God stepped into my life and turned things around, that was the moment that I said yes. And it was his yes that made him so impactful. Because I believe Paul developed the right strategies, Ashley. First thing he did, Minister Cook, was give his personal testimony. He says in our text right here, he says, I do not consider myself to take hold of it. That's what it says. In other words, David, I have a lot to learn. I'm still striving to be better. I'm not who I want to be, but I'm not who I used to be. I just need to know, is there anybody in the church today who is glad that you're not who you used to be? I might still have a little ways to go, Miss Lemmon, but when I turn around and see how far I came, all I can say is thank you, Jesus. Listen to Power Ministries, talking about God and his word, evangelizing to other people, that's great. Don't stop doing it. Keep doing it. That's what God wants. But there is nothing, Mama Ann, more powerful than your testimony. Because can't nobody tell your story like you can tell your story. Can't nobody tell how God kept you from losing your mind. Can't nobody tell how God stopped you from driving over the cliff. Can't nobody tell how God kept you, how God protected you, how God saved you, how God delivered you, how God kept you, how God dried every tear from your eye. Can't nobody tell it like you can tell it. In fact, I need you to tell your neighbor, just tell your testimony. Just tell your testimony.